If you have just joined us, it is time for AI Africa, your antenna in tech on the continent with myself, Fifi Peters. In this week's segment, we are looking at the fast-growing digital payments markets and how innovation in artificial intelligence could impact payments in future. We'll be joined by Michael Wallis-Brown. He's the Vice President and Global Head of Mobile Financial Services over at Ericsson. But first, Chanel AI, Africa's first AI newsreader, of course, is standing by to take you through some of the news that you need to know right now. Over to you, Chanel AI.
Thanks, Fifi. And here's a wrap of what's trending in AI. In global news, the United Kingdom and its global partners will donate £80 million towards artificial intelligence projects and programming to combat inequality in Africa. The £80 million funding is a collaborative effort between Britain, Canada, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to boost safe and responsible programming, according to the UK Foreign Office. This while Britain gathered governments, academia, and companies at its inaugural AI Safety Summit on Wednesday in an effort to position itself as a mediator between the economic blocs of the United States, China, and the European Union on the risks and opportunities of artificial intelligence. And in news on the continent, Microsoft South Africa and non-profit organization Youth Employment Service have partnered up to deliver artificial intelligence training to 300,000 young South Africans. The initiative was announced at Microsoft's AI, a New Era event, in Johannesburg this week. The program aims to equip South African youth with digital skills needed to drive employability in a country faced with 45.3% youth unemployment rate as of Q2 in 2023. Lillian Barnard, president of Microsoft Africa, said, Microsoft is excited about the artificial intelligence opportunity in Africa. We are truly in the next wave of innovation called artificial intelligence transformation, . That's all from me, Chanel AI. You're up to date. Over to you, Fifi.
Well, now that you are up to date, let's get into today's discussion on the digital payments markets. Currently, around $9 trillion worth of transactions are processed through digital wallets, and this is expected to surge to $16 trillion in the next 5 years, according to Juniper Research. Today, every fifth mobile money transaction globally is processed through Ericsson's wallet platform. For more on digital developments and how AI specifically is changing the world of payments, I'm joined by Michael Wallis-Brown, the Vice President and Global Head of Mobile Financial Services at Ericsson. Michael, thanks once again for your time. So let's start off with AI and just bring us up to speed with some of the talk within Ericsson's corridors around AI and how best to deploy the technology.
Hi, Fifi, and thanks very much for having me on your show. I suppose let's jump right into it. I mean, AI is quite a broad acronym, and people don't necessarily understand it. But essentially, this has got to do with data, okay, and how data is managed. So some of the things that we are talking about is, at the very basic level in a big emerging market like in Africa, simple things like, KYC or know your customer, and making sure that those data points around a person and who they are, their identity, their biometrics, etc., is captured and used in a very secure way. Okay, so that's at that level. But then you can also take it up a whole nother level. And some of the discussions that we're looking at is, some of the developments out there from a technology perspective and platform perspective. So, there are things like FinGPT, which is an open source financial large language model. And then this is designed based on this GPT-4 architecture, and it's developed by the AI4 Finance Foundation. And this is a significant development, and how that's going to affect the fintech world and the future of finance is significant. I mean, things like credit scoring, fraud detection, financial education, anti-money laundering, these kind of things are all set to be transformed by artificial intelligence in the future. And Ericsson is very much at the leading edge of this revolution.
Michael, I think that this is the first time that we are or have heard about FinGPT specifically on this channel. Well, I can admit it's the first time I've heard of it. Just to explain to us exactly, I mean, how does it work? Who works this? Is it the customer? Is it the actual provider of financial services? Just your take on FinGPT.
Yeah, well, I mean, this very much comes from this GPT-4 architecture, which is, Chat GPT. Everyone's probably heard of that. That's the more consumer version of it. But if you now translate that environment into a fintech or financial services environment, all of a sudden you've got this very rich, architecture which you can build off. I think the beauty of this is that it's all open source today, and this is key. So the AI for Finance Foundation, you can look it up on Google or wherever, and find out a bit more about it. But the open source environment is significant because it allows people to build on top of this architecture and create applications that will have significant impact in the future. I've mentioned some of them already. This risk management, fraud detection, credit scoring, quantitative trading would be another one. All these things would be influenced by this in the future. So the work is in progress, but it's happening fast.
Too fast for some people to keep up, it would seem. But I want to circle back to the amounts of payments that are currently being processed through your wallet platform over at Ericsson, around a fifth of payments globally. And I'd just like to understand the portion that Sub-Saharan Africa currently occupies in terms of those payments that are being processed.
Yes, I mean, look, we've done an incredible job in Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Ericsson wallet platform enables telecom operators in around 18 Sub-Saharan African countries. We offer this fast, secure, personalized, and easy to use mobile financial services to their customers. And to that point, Ericsson wallet platform processes around 2.8 billion transactions, valued at about $40 billion every month. So it is significant, okay? And we draw on our very strong, technical knowledge in working with mobile operators to offer this into Sub-Saharan African very, very successfully.
Because when we talk about payments, remittances in the continent have been quite a big thing. There's quite a number of players in that space. Also, the use case being money transfers, particularly for those who do not have a official or formal bank account. What are some of the use cases that you have seen on the continent, the dominant use cases in terms of the payments being processed at your company?
Yeah, well, I mean, the bulk of the transactions are basic transactions like this peer-to-peer transfer, and then, of course, you have airtime top-ups and bill payments and cash in and cash out. That said, Sub-Saharan Africa in particular is still very much a cash economy, okay? So it's just offering those very basic services of digitizing those cash transactions, in a very trustworthy way. So these basic transactions form around about 70% of all transactions by value on a global level. And that's the current state of play. But this current state of play is also going to change really fast, okay? And the mobile money services are evolving to offer advanced financial services to consumers, including microloans and buy now, pay later, and overdraft, insurance, investment, merchant payments, international remittances, these kinds of things. So the thing there is that basically it's a stepping stone to now a much more richer financial services environment. But the key thing there is to educate people, particularly in Sub-Saharan Africa, in terms of what is possible, and then the trustworthiness or the trust relationship around that. And Ericsson has very much provided that foundation together with our telecom operators to provide that secure, trusted platform which people can rely on.
Mm-hmm. Michael, just circling back to AI, when you spoke about the use cases internally for companies right now, companies like yourselves, you are ultimately receiving this huge set of data that can be used more efficiently. You spoke about the improvements in terms of knowing your customer and also credit scoring and curbing against money laundering or being able to detect it a lot more quickly. So that's for the businesses, the fintech providers, as it were. But how are some of the innovations that could be forthcoming in AI, particularly as it does pertain to digital payments? What's that going to mean for the end user, the customer more specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, if you just keep it really simple, like I said, the peer-to-peer money transfers are happening, but then there's more advanced services that are coming on stream. And I think what you'll see is that the AI and machine learning would be another one. Algorithms combined with this alternative data analytics will help predict a borrower's risk score, for example. I mean, that's a really key thing, um, based on your KYC, is this person a trustworthy person? Can we lend him money? Okay, so predicting a borrower's risk score more accurately and also improving the efficiency of credit scoring and lending decisions. And then personal finance management and these robo advisory tools, are all leveraging AI and machine learning at scale. Okay. So these kind of services are able then to be rolled out in a very efficient way across large swathes of the population. So a lot of opportunity, in this holistic data analytics where you can forecast the future of money inflows and outflows, and then also provide this personalized recommendations on savings and investment, will have a huge influence into people's lives. So there's very much a revolution coming. But that said, the tech might seem very sophisticated, but on the front end and the user experience, it will be very, very simple to use.
And any concerns that you may have about this forthcoming revolution and perhaps some negative consequences for your industry potentially?
Like with everything, I mean, there are always concerns, particularly when it comes to, anti-money laundering and fraud and this kind of thing. But what I see is, the key actors like Ericsson, working together with key partners like the large telecom operators and banks in these markets, there's an incredibly solid foundation to build on, okay? And that foundation is always built on trust. And it's also then, tapping into the community trust environment. I mean, in South Africa, you get a thing called a stokvel. That's where all the gogos get together, they pool their money together, and once a week someone gets the pot and is able to go and, use that money to do things. That's community savings. So it's also about working with the community environment in a way that makes sense. So you can have all the fancy technology in the world, but unless it meets the needs of the community, it's not necessarily going to relate to them. But this is what Ericsson, for example, brings. I mean, we've got a history of this, and we're steeped in working very closely with our partners in their communities. And I think, that environment, together with a really strong regulatory environment to make sure that we manage it all and we work with the good actors and the good players, is a very strong foundation to build up for the future. And Ericsson is very excited to be part of that.
All right. I can tell you that the community or members of the Stokvel have gotten a little younger, Michael. It's more than just gogos. I consider myself not to be a gogo granny at this stage, and I'm a proud member of a Stokvel. But the point that you are making is well taken, just on the pooled savings and leveraging that with the strong regulatory environment, of course, that could facilitate this. But we'll leave it there for now. So thanks so much for your time and the insights that you have brought to the show, particularly around what we should be looking out for more closely regarding FinGPT. I'm repeating it because it was a new one. Michael Wallis-Brown, he's the Vice President and the Global Head of Global Financial Services at Ericsson. And that is how we wrap up yet another episode of AI Africa. You can always catch us again right here on CNBC Africa next week, same time, same place. But until then, it's back to Power Lunch.